Hello, future engineers, subscribers, viewers, and students. There is another material in engineering review, and this is Algebra 3, and we'll consider the following main topics, namely about probability and statistics. So, probability and statistics, since these subjects are broad, then we will have to divide this into contents where you will not be bored because of the lengthy video. So I'm going to divide this. Then we have problems for solutions. So first here we are going to consider probability of single events. So the probability that event E will occur, so this is denoted by T sub E, equals the total favorable outcomes, number of total favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. So that's the formula for probability of a single event. Then uh, complementary probability, this is used in cases like at least and at most conditions. So probability that event E will not occur is equal to 1 minus the probability that it will occur. So the formula for this situation, complementary probability, is probability that event E will not occur is 1, the total probability, minus the probability that it will occur. So 1 minus P sub E. Then another expression for probability of simple events. Here, H is the probability that event E will happen or that an event to happen, and F probability of failure. So P sub E is equal to H divided by H plus F. So remember that this is the sum of the probability, which is supposedly 1. So H plus F should be 1. You may replace this by 1. But if H is known, then we can easily compute that probability of single event. So let's have this demonstration. First demonstration. What is the probability of drawing a face card from a standard deck of cards? So take note, face cards are Jack, Queen, and Q. Jack, Queen, and King, rather. And there are 4 suits per face card. So 4 Jack cards, 4 Queen cards, and 4 uh, King cards. Therefore, the probability that I use blue, the probability that a card drawn is a face card, so I call it FC, equals the total favorable outcome, since there are 4 face cards per suit and there are 3 face cards. These 3 face cards represents Jack, Queen, and Q, and there are 4 suits per card. Then the total number of outcomes, because there are 52 cards from standard deck of cards, so we divide that by 52, and so we can now find the answer equal to 3 over 13 by simplification. So the answer is 3 over 13. Then we have probability of compound events. We have mutually exclusive events. We call this as disjoint, without duplication and without common outcome. So that's the mutually exclusive events. And the probability that event M or N, the preposition or in mathematics is plus, is equal to the probability of the occurrence of event M or N is the sum of their individual probabilities. So P sub n plus P sub n. So take note that or means plus. So again, this or here corresponds to plus. So this is interpreted as the probability that event n will occur plus the probability that event n will occur, because there's no duplication. Event m cannot also be event n. So as a demonstration, let's have this problem here. So what is the probability of obtaining a red card, a red ace card, or a red face card from a standard deck of cards? So there's no duplication because an ace card, which is red, cannot be a face card. And if you're going to analyze from the above formula, this probability of obtaining a red ace card, or a red face card is equal to the probability of obtaining a red ace card plus probability of obtaining a red face card. So since there are only two red cards, two red ace cards, ace diamond and ace heart, so that is 2 over 52, then plus there are three face cards, and in each face card there are two red cards, queen, heart and diamond. So three face cards, and in each face card there are two red cards each in each suit, then divided by 52. So that would be 8 over 52, and 8 over 52 can be reduced to 2 over 13. So the answer is 2 over 13. So 2 over 13. So let's proceed to mutually compound events, but this time mutually inclusive events. So these are joint with duplication with common outcome. And the formula therefore is equal to, so same formula, probability of occurrence of event M or N, but this time there is duplication, is same probability of event M plus probability that event N will occur minus the, we have to subtract the probability that event M is also, or event M is also event N. There is duplication. So let's have this demonstration. What is the probability of obtaining a queen card or a heart card from a standard deck of cards? So the joint or the duplicated outcome here is, take note, there is a queen heart card and there is only one queen heart card. So the probability that we can obtain a queen heart card is only one queen heart out of 52. So using the formula, probability of obtaining a queen heart card is equal to probability of obtaining queen card plus probability of obtaining heart card. Although you may not use the formula, we can just use common sense here, minus the probability that the queen card is also a heart card. So if we do not use the formula, we just take note that there will be 12 heart cards excluding the queen heart card, right? So there are uh, 13 heart cards all in all. Ace to 10, then Jack, Queen, and King. That would be 13 heart cards. Then Queen cards will be 3 left because we do not include the uh, queen, sorry, there will be 12 heart cards left because we do not include the queen heart card. Then you just put 12 over 52. Then there will be 3 queen cards left: queen diamond, queen club, and queen gold. And that is queen club and queen gold, right? So there will be 3 queen cards to be considered after we disregard queen heart card. So by common sense, 12 heart cards excluding queen heart card, then 3 queen cards left. So that would be 12 plus 3, 12 heart card, 12 hard heart cards left excluding queen heart card, then plus 4 queen cards, then that will be 12 plus 4, 16 over 52, or 16 over 52, or 4 over 13. So right, but if you use the formula, the result should still be 4 over 13. So there are 4 queen cards out of 52 plus 13 heart cards out of 52, then only 1 queen heart card out of 52. So that would still be 16 over 52, and 16 over 52 is 4 over 13. So that's it for that problem. So next, let's consider conditional probability. So we have two situations here. We have dependent events and independent events. For dependent events, we say events M and N are dependent events if the occurrence or non-occurrence of one of them affects the probability of the occurrence of the other, because they are dependent events. So the probability that the other event occurs, given that M has occurred or not occurring, is equal to, so probability that event M and N occur is equal to the product, because and is interpreted in math as times or multiplication. So P sub quantity M and N is equal to the probability that event M will occur times the probability that event N will occur given that M has occurred, after M has occurred. So take note of the definition. Probability, this is probability that event N will occur given that event M has occurred. So to demonstrate that situation, let's have this problem. An algebra class consists of 14 civil engineering students, 10 electronics and communication engineering students and 8 mechanical engineering students. The teacher shuffles their class cards. What is the probability that the first 3 drawn cards, class cards, are ECE students? So there are 3 events in this problem. So to solve this problem, we have probability that the 3 drawn cards are ECE, so 3 ECE. So for the first event, that the first drawn class card is ECE, since there are 10 ECE students out of 14 plus 10, 24 plus 8, 32, the probability that the first drawn card is an ECE student is equal to 10 over 32. And for the second event, that it is ECE, so its probability is affected by the occurrence of the first 10 over 32. There will be 9 ECE students left out of 31 because we already drew the first class card. Then for the third, it should be ECE also student. Then there will be 8 ECE students left out of 30 class cards left also, 30 students left also. So simplifying this is equal to 3 over 34. 3 over 124 rather. So that's it for this problem. We then proceed to the second case, which is independent events. So by the case itself, independent events, we say events M and N are independent if the occurrence or non-occurrence of one of them does not affect the probability of the occurrence of the other. So that's for independent events. And the formula is given by probability that event M and N will occur is equal to probability that event M will occur times the probability that event N will occur. There's no more condition because they are now independent events. So meaning the probability of the occurrence of the second event is intact because they are independent events. It is not affected by the occurrence of the first event. So to demonstrate, let's have this problem. One bag contains 4 green balls and 2 black balls, while the second bag contains 3 yellow balls and 7 white balls. What is the probability of obtaining a black ball in the first bag and a white ball in the second bag? So the probability of obtaining a white ball in the second bag remains fixed because the second bag has 10 balls all in all. So the probability of obtaining a white ball from the second bag would be 7 over 10, and it will not be affected even if the first event occurs, that is to pick a black ball from the first bag. Probability of obtaining a black ball from the first bag, there are 2 black balls out of 6, 4 plus 2. Then times the probability of picking a white ball from the second bag, which is 7 over 10. So that's the solution. So probability, so for our solution, probability of obtaining a black ball from the first bag and white ball from the second bag equals probability obtaining black ball from the first bag times probability of obtaining white ball from the second bag. For the first bag, there are 2 black balls out of 6. From the second bag, there are 7 white balls out of 10. So therefore, the answer is 7 over 30. So 7 over 30. Then we proceed to the next case, mathematical expectation. So we define ME, mathematical expectation, as the product of the probability of winning or occurrence and the corresponding expected amount or value to be won or to be uh, received from that probability. So therefore, mathematical expectation is again probability of receiving that amount. That's it. If it is a compound case, then we just add the mathematical expectation. So let's have this demonstration. In a gambling game, a man is paid 360 pesos if he draws a jack or a queen, and 420 pesos if he draws an ace or a king from a standard deck of 52 cards. If he draw any other card, he loses. So how much should he pay to play if the game is fair? So the amount to be paid is also the mathematical expectation to be fair. So that is our solution, mathematical expectation or amount to be expected. So first, the probability of obtaining or drawing a jack or a queen card, jack or from the previous case, you just add, would be there are 4 jack cards, then plus there are 4 queen cards out of 52, and the amount expected to be won is 360 pesos times 360, then plus uh, there are 4 ace cards and also 4 king cards out of 52, so the probability of drawing an ace or a king card is 8 over 52, and the amount expected to be won is 420. So calculating with your calculator, it is equal to 120 pesos. So the answer is 120. So we proceed to the next. So next, let's have probability in repeated trials. This is also known as the binomial probability. So the formula is based on like binomial expansion in algebra. So probability of occurrence of event H is equal to the number of combinations of uh, NCM. So NCM, the number of combinations that the event happens exactly m times, and F here first is the probability of failure of a single event, while S is the probability of success of a single event. So this formula is the same as finding the R term, or yes, the R term of the expansion of a binomial. And we can derive this when we reach binomial expansion. We will have the derivation of that formula. So probability that event H, that an event happens or succeeds exactly m times, is given by P sub H, subscript, open parenthesis or open and close parenthesis, inside is H, is NCM times quantity F times N minus M times S raised to M. Again, NCM is defined as the number of combinations that the event happens exactly M times. F is the probability of failure of a single event, while S is the probability of success of a single event. So NCM, again, that's the definition, and S the probability of success of a single event. These are the features of a binomial experiment. So there are fixed number of trials, features. There are fixed number of trials. The N trials are independent and repeated under identical conditions. So meaning to say, for each trial, the probability of failure, the probability of success remain the same. Then each trial has only two outcomes. The outcomes are successes, which represents S, and failures, which represents F. Then for each individual trial, the probability of success is the same as explained earlier. Then the central problem of a binomial experiment is to find the probability of X successes in N trials. So that's the central problem of binomial experiment. Then we will have an example of that later. Then related to this is the geometric distribution. So a geometric distribution is a discrete probability distribution of a random variable. The random variable is denoted by X that satisfies the following conditions. So first, a trial is repeated until a success occurs. So repeated, first trial, second trial, up to the X trial until a success is reached or a success occurs. Then the repeated trials are independent of each other. So meaning to say, the probability of the occurrence of the preceding is not the same as the probability of the foregoing trial. And the probability of success S is constant for each trial. So that's it. Probability of success is constant for each trial. So the formula is the probability that the first success will occur on trial number X, because before trial number X, there will be X minus 1 trials already that occurred. Since those are failure trials, the probability of failure is 1 minus the probability of success. So therefore, the formula is quantity 1 minus S raised to X minus 1. The power is X minus 1 because there are X minus 1. This is the X, the success, the probability of success, or the success event occurs at trial number X. So before trial number X, those are failure trials, and the number of failures before trial number X is X minus 1. So the probability of failure, which is represented by 1 minus X, should be raised to X minus 1. Then the next trial is a success event or a success trial. The probability, there is only one there, is equal to S, if S is the symbol for probability of success. So that's why the formula has a sense we're going to interpret it, do not memorize. So this is the explanation was before a success occurs, before an event occurs rather as a success, there will be x minus 1 failures. So that's why the probability of failure, which is 1 minus s, is raised to x minus 1. Then the next trial is a success, so that's why we multiply it by the probability of success, which is s. So that's why this is the formula. Take note, 1 minus s is probability of failure, and before trial x minus 1 failures before the first success course. So that's why that's the formula. So next, the probability that the kth success will occur on trial number x is equal to, so remember that the kth success will occur on trial number x. So this may be the second or the third success, fourth, seventh. But before the kth success occurs, there will be k minus 1 successes before that. And since the first success, second success may occur in any position, in any trials, then the formula therefore is quantity. So again, uh, there will be x minus 1 uh, failures. So the number of combinations for this k minus 1 successes is given by x minus 1 combination of k minus 1. So x minus 1 combination k minus 1. Then times probability of failure. So since there are uh, x minus k failures before that trial x, so that's why this probability of failure represented by 1 minus s is raised to x minus k. Then the probability of success, because this is the kth success for the next uh, trial, and there are k successes already for this position, so that's why it is raised to k. So I usually do not rely on this formula. I just draw the horizontal bar method and put the situations there, and from there you can analyze easily that the result would be the same. So let's have this demonstration in a multiple choice type questions with four choices. Of course, only one is correct. You attempt to answer five questions by pure guessing. So what is the probability of getting exactly three correct answers? So these three correct answers out of five, that's 60% in the board exam. The passing grade is 70%. And take note, there are only five questions. So that probability of obtaining three correct answers would be possible. We can compute that. In order to pass the board exam, your score, your correct answer should be at least uh, 4, because 3 over 5 is a failure. 4 over 5 is 80, and that is possible. So if the question is what is the probability of passing the board exam if there are only 5 questions, assuming there are only 5 questions, so it should be probability of exactly obtaining 4 correct answers and plus the probability of getting all 5 problems. So your answers are all correct. So you add that using binomial probability, then that's the probability of passing the board exam. But it is very small. That's why it is not suggested that you have to answer the problem by pure guessing, in which there is no, you have no idea. So it's a matter of luck by picking the answer. So you have an idea because you were trained, you have been trained to analyze problems. So this is not applicable to you. This may be applicable to grade 1 students, but even grade 1 students, maybe there are genius grade 1 students. But if it is a problem that is very advanced, so it may be applicable for grade 1 students. For the second one, that is, what is the probability that your first correct answer occurs in question number 3? Remember that this is the first correct answer occurs in question number 3. So meaning, since the first correct answer occurs in question number 3, for the first two trials, all those are failures. So it should be probability of failure. There are two failures also without the formula. It is supposedly k minus 1, the power 1 minus s raised to k minus 1. Remember the formula. Then times probability of success, which is 1/4, because there's only one correct answer out of 4. And the probability of failure is 1 minus 1/4 or 3/4. So for the first case, this is 5 combination 3, probability of failure raised to 5 minus 3. Remember the formula. Then probability of success raised to 3. So to solve this, to answer this problem, so for this problem here, for part A, so for part A, we have probability of obtaining exactly three correct answers is, remember, NCM. N is 5, there are 5 questions, and we have to have 3 correct answers, and we do not know if it occurs the first question, third, and fifth. It is also possible that it is the second, third, and fourth. So there are many possibilities. That's why we have here the 5C3 combinations, because it may occur in any number, any problem. Then probability of failure, there are 3 wrong answers out of 4. So the probability of failure is 3/4 raised to 5 minus 3. You must, meaning to say the power is 2, you must commit a mistake twice only so that your score is exactly 3 correct answer. Then times probability of success, which is 1/4. And this should be raised to 3. So solving this, it is equal to 45 over 512. I want you to verify this. 45 over 512. While for the second one, what is the probability that your first correct answer occurs in question number 3? So if you use the formula, it was x minus 1. It was probability of failure, which is 3/4 or 1 minus 1/4, because probability of success is 1/4. So 1 minus 1/4 raised to 3x minus 1, so 3 minus 1. So the power is 2, then times probability of success 1/4. So it is probability that the first correct answer occurs in question number 3 or trial number 3. Correct answer in question 3 is equal to 1 minus 1/4 raised to k3 minus x rather minus 1, then times probability of success, which is 1/4, and that is equal to 9/64, right? So that is 9/64. So 3/4 quantity square is 9/16 times 1/4, so 9/64. While 5 combination 3 times quantity 3/4 raised to 2, then divided by 64 is 45/512. So for the next problem, demonstration number 8, find the probability that a person flipping a coin gets A, the first head on the fourth flip, and B, the third head on the seventh flip. So first head occurs on the fourth flip. So we draw this so that we will not use the formula. This formula here, we'll just use common sense. So that is, if the first head occurs on the fourth flip, this should be head, and the preceding trials will have tails. So tail, 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 then head. Then supposedly the probability is the product of this, the probability of obtaining a head, a tail, then tail, tail, then head. So since this is the first head on the fourth flip, if this is the success event or success trial, then before that there will be 3 failures. So if you can remember, the formula was probability of failures, which is 1 minus probability of success, raised to, because there are 3 failures, so raised to 3. But if you use the formula, it was x minus 1, so 4 minus 1. That is also 3 because there are 4. X is equal to 4. And times the probability that of success, which is head, which is 1/2. The probability that it will be tail is also 1/2. No, remember, the coin has only 2 sides, tail and head. So this is equal to, by the way, for the second part. So first, using the formula, if you use the formula, this is equal to, remember, 1 minus success. Probability of success, meaning probability that it will be head, is 1/2. Then there are 4 trials, so raised to, and the first head occurs at the fourth trial. This is x, which is 4, then minus 1. That was the formula, raised to 4 minus 1. If you're going to interpret, it's the same as 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. 1/2 cube, and 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2, then raised to 3. So that's common sense. That's why you may forget the formula. You just draw the situation, then from there we can analyze it. Then probability that it will be head is also equal to 1/2. So using the formula or without using the formula, our solution should be 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/16 for this case. So this is 1/16. While for this case, that's the formula there, which is, if you do not understand the situation, you cannot set up that formula. But if you draw the situation here, we can analyze this by common sense. So that is the third head on the seventh flip. So we draw 7 trials, 7 blanks. So this should be head. And this is the third head. So meaning to say, before this trial, there will be two heads before that, but we do not know where the head happens. So it may be in the first trial, then at the sixth trial, it may be here, second trial, or there. So this is just the possibility. Since the first two heads may occur in different positions, and that is arranging elements or objects in combinations. So it may be tail here. There is also a possibility that it will be head there. This is just an example. So maybe the first head occurs at the third trial, and the second head occurs at the sixth trial, like this. So it may also be the first two trials, head, head, then tail, 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 tail. So that is the situation. And arranging these elements would be combinations of 6 objects taken 2 at a time, because there are 2 heads here. Then times, if you use the formula, probability of failure, there are 4, so the power should be 4. Probability of failure is tail. So 1 minus s, 1 minus 1 half raised to, what's the power? The power is x minus k. X minus k is 7, because x is 7, minus k. K is 3, because there are 3 successes, and the third success occurs at the 7th trial. So that's the meaning of that. So x minus k, 7 minus 3 is still 4. And we can see it here that there are 4 failures, right? So it's the same even if you position it anywhere, as long as we draw these horizontal bars, trials, and we satisfy the condition there that the third head occurs here. The first two heads may occur anywhere, but the arrangement of that would be combinations of 6, because there are 6 trials taken 2 at a time, because the objective is to have these 2 heads equally. Then the probability that it will be head is S, and there will be, the power should be 3, because there are 3 successes. So if you use the formula, it will be 6 combination 2, 1 minus S raised to, so that's 6 combination 2, the meaning 6 trials taken 2 at a time, because we need these 2 heads. Then probability of failure 1 minus s, the power should be 4, because there are 4 tails here before the 7th trial, and the power should be 4, but if you use the formula, it should be 7 minus 3. It should be 7 minus 3, where 3 is 3 successes. So 6 combination to 1 minus 1 half. This is by the formula there, up there. So 6c2, 1 minus 1 half raised to 7 minus 3 times 1 half raised to 3. And this is equal to, so for the first one, 1 over 16, second one, 15 over 128. So without this formula, by just common sense, it's like arranging these 6 objects taken 2 at a time. The objective is to have these 2 successes before the third success. Then 1 minus s, 1 minus 1 half. Then since before the 7th trial, which is a success, the third success, there are 4 failures. This is probability of failure. So its power should be 4 without using the formula, because there are 4 failures. Then probability of success is 1/2. And since there are 3 successes, then we raise this to 3 also. So the answer is the same. It is equal to uh, 15 over 128. So that's it for this part 1. I hope that you were able to follow the explanations and the solutions. So we may not memorize the formula if you're confused, but I explained the formula. I hope that you got the explanations. But we can still answer these problems without the formulas, just common sense.